Thanks for staying with us on The Real Story. Glastonbury Town Council member Stewart Chip Beckett has left the Republican Party. In fact, he just gave up his leadership role. Republicans in the minority on the town council. That's because he's now with the Independent Party. He says the party at the national level, the GOP, no longer represents American values. Beckett believes the party has been going in the wrong direction for a long time now. And this is not a unique story. Connecticut saw thousands of people leave the Republican Party since Election Day. So let's get his take. What was the final straw? Where does he think the party's going? Chip Beckett joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am good, thank you very much. So you are still on the town council, right? You just stepped down from your minority position.
Right. I stepped down from the leadership position. Right.
So how has that been with your other members? Has it been strange?
It's a little strange. I think there was a little bit of tension because I was not a member of the Republican Party and three of them were when I did this in December, but we talked about it, and the budget is the biggest thing the town council does. It sets the priorities for the year, and we thought rather than a different distraction in a tough year with a tough environment, we would focus on the job at hand, get through the budget, and I would, if I wasn't going to go back to the Republican Party, then I would resign, and that's what I did.
So tell me what the final straw was. Why did you leave the GOP?
Because I was completely disgusted when Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, sued other states about changing their voting laws in response to the pandemic. And I was insulted by that, but probably no more than Richard Blumenthal suing about football leagues from people in other states. But when 147 members of Congress voted to endorse that, I thought there's no respect for the rule of law nor elections. It was all about power, and whoever had the bigger club was going to win. And I just thought that was completely inappropriate. We didn't fight the revolution nor any of the world wars so that you just had a cult following autocracy.
Were you surprised by the response from the Republican Party?
Very, very. Both parties have their strange uncles in the corner, right? So you always knew that, but I did not expect to see a vast majority of the rank and file go along with this as a good idea. I would have expected 2 or 3, but I wouldn't have expected 147.
You decided, you were already upset then, right after the election, it sounds like, but I can't imagine then what you were thinking when the Capitol riots happened. What was running through your head when you saw what happened in Washington, D.C. that day?
I had a real thought of premonitions. I wrote a editorial to The Current at the primary time in April of 16, saying Donald Trump, electing Donald Trump was going to be like electing Hitler in the Weimar Republic in the 1920s and 30s. And I think we are unfortunately well on the road to doing that.
Has it been hard as a Republican? I know you're no longer a Republican, but was it difficult for you to speak out? Did you feel pressure?
No. I got raised, my dad was in the military, honor God and country. I was never fortunate enough to be in the military because of my profession, but I've always been able to march to my own drummer and call the balls and strikes as I saw them. So, no, there's not a lot of pressure, and I'm not really bothered by the pressure. As a veterinarian, people are always talking about you, good and bad, and I've had almost 40 years of that, so it's not any big change.
You were very specific to point out that you felt like it was the national party that you were really upset with, less critical of the Republican Party here in Connecticut. But do you think the Republican Party in our state, and we know that a Connecticut Republican has tended to be a little bit different than what the national party has been, at least the mainstream part of that party. But do you think Connecticut's Republican Party is doing enough to get its base back? Because the last election at the state level, seats were lost in both the House and the Senate.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is national. The reason I went from chairman to minority leader, I think, is in response to President Trump because we lost the majority that we'd had for nearly 20 years and have usually been in 2017 after Trump was elected. So I don't think the party has overcome the Trump extreme tendencies that some of the party members on the national level have spoken about. But I also think the news media hasn't, it's not fake news, but I think it's hard for them to talk about other people. So the easy thing is to talk about what Mitch McConnell or McCarthy talk about, and they don't talk about what happens at the Connecticut legislature or with mayors or first selectmen that are Republicans in town or in the state.
We know that former President Trump is looking at possibly running again. Do you have a message to Republicans? I mean, what do you think about him running? We know obviously you're not going to be happy about that.
If you think our country should be Germany of the 1930s and 40s, then I think you should vote for him. If you don't think that's a good idea, then you ought to run away from him.
You actually joined the independent party at this point. Why did you decide to do that as opposed to just being an independent?
Well, there's unaffiliated, but we don't have unaffiliated elections in Connecticut. We have party elections. And good or bad, that's the way it is. And I think if you're going to try and change things, there has to be a sense of scale to have an alternative. It's certainly an uphill battle. Joe Lieberman and Lowell Weicker have run on independent tickets, but they haven't been sustainable. And that's one reason why I've held off as long as I did, because where do you have the ability to have influence on public policy? But I think we need a third party. I've thought we've needed a third party for a very long time. I think 70% of the public is pretty much in reasonable agreement on most things. And I think both parties tend to sway towards the extreme 15% on either side. And they're having a kindergarten food fight over it and leaving the general public out of the discussion of how to make better public policy.
It is something we have discussed here on The Real Story about the two-party system when we've had Monty Frank on, former candidate for governor, the late Oz Griebel as well with Sam Connecticut. Chip Beckett, thank you very much for coming on the program and explaining your decision to leave the GOP. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jen. Have a good day.
You too. Well, that does it for us on The Real Story. If you want to watch these segments again, head to fox61.com or download the Fox 61 app and watch The Real Story every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on Fox 61. Have a great one.